Hi guys, it's Abby with Happy Little Mystic, and welcome to lesson 2 of our free self-paced tarot course. In lesson 1, we talked about the Fool and his journey through the Major Arcana characters. Today, we're going to talk about the Fool himself. So if you have our Happy Little Mystic Tarot Workbook and you open to the first section on the Major Arcana, you will see a spot here for notes on the Fool. And we'll go through and fill in all the information we need to in order to fully understand the Fool card. So as I mentioned in the intro, you don't need to be an artist to sketch your card, as you'll see, but it goes back to that whole idea of owning the information, locking it into your brain. So I've gone ahead and sketched as much of the details as I could, as best I could, and then I wrote notes to myself that'll help me with recall when I do my readings. So let's talk about what it is that the Fool has for images in his card and what these symbols mean. One thing to note in tarot is that nothing is wasted. So every image or symbol that you see in a card has meaning. So I'm going to touch on the main meanings in this card, but you could spend hours talking about all the intricacies. So, I mean, the color usage, everything in this card. The other cool thing is sometimes the meanings come from our own personal reflections of the card. So you may see something in this card that I don't see, but it means something to you. And therefore you should write it down because that'll help make your readings more genuine to you and insightful. So starting with the Fool, we have a young man. And I will note that in tarot, there is no gender. So it is depicted as a young man here. However, this could be a young woman in another deck. So gender is not specific in the tarot. This young person is standing at the edge of a cliff here. And notice he's not just standing, he's in a movement stance. Like it looks as if he is walking. And this is a snapshot of his walk off the cliff. This is showing that he's ready to take a leap of faith. He's embracing the unknown without fear or hesitation. He's not being timid at all here. He is walking quickly and going off the cliff. Now the cliff here is symbolizing a point of transition or that leap of faith. It's a new journey. Notice how the Fool is looking up here with hope and curiosity and excitement. He is not afraid. It's almost like he's not even paying attention, but I think that's in a carefree way. It's like he's already decided to take the journey and he's not afraid. So he's just doing it. Let's note the sun here as well and how large it is depicted on this card. It is a symbol of optimism and joy, warmth and vitality, and also this assurance or support on the Fool's back. It's got its back. It's behind him. It's shining. It's almost nudging him along off of this cliff. The Fool is accompanied by a white dog. And the dog in tarot is this loyal companion. It's symbolizing instinct and protection. It's also a reminder to stay grounded. And I really love this because I actually have 2 dogs of my own, and I'll find myself stopping throughout the day to pet them or make of them. And it's for them, but it's also for me. I've noticed that I'm needing to ground in a moment in the present, and it just dawned on me when I was preparing this course that it was my own way of slowing down and stopping in the moment. So I love that that's what this symbolizes here. You'll notice he is carrying a small bag, and that's his bundle of belongings. That's all he's taking with him on his new journey. So that tells us he's not weighed down by the past. He's letting it go. He's leaving it all behind. The Fool is also holding a single white rose in his hand. And the rose in tarot symbolizes innocence and purity and a new perspective. And lastly, we'll note his clothing choice. So he is dressed from head to toe in bright colored clothing. So that's our carefree nature, free of societal expectations. He doesn't care necessarily what he looks like. It's what makes him happy. And he feels free and flowing and bright and cheerful. The feather in his cap here shows us that he feels worthy. You know, he has this feather in his cap. He is ready to take on what is ahead of him. Maybe he feels as though he has the knowledge or the expertise to take that leap of faith. So counterintuitive to the name the Fool, which could symbolize that he doesn't know much and that he needs this journey to learn, the feather in his cap almost symbolizes that he does know quite a bit, but he's willing to take this journey so that he can learn more and grow and evolve. He knows that the journey is never ending. And when he takes a new journey, it's all about learning the lessons along the way. So now if you're following along with our workbook, I'm going to move over to the zodiac signs. And he is connected to the planet of Uranus. And Uranus is all about sudden change and creativity, independence and innovation, new beginnings and freedom. So that goes right along with all the stuff we noted in the imagery meaning. So if you pulled a Fool in a reading and you're asking a yes or no question, he is a yes. If this card shows up, it is a resounding go for it. He's moving forward momentum. The answer is yes. The keywords for the upright meaning. So if he shows up in the upright position, we're talking new beginnings, leaving your past behind, freedom, the adventure is beginning. It also tells us that you're on the right path. The sun here and the dog by his side are symbolizing he is well protected. He's on the right path. He can take that leap. This also notes that you should trust your intuition. When we trust our intuition, we really have nothing to fear. And he's showing us that. By looking up into the sky with his arms wide open, he is embracing this new beginning, this change. He is trusting himself completely. So the overall advice or meaning for a general reading is that you should be willing to take a risk if this card shows up. Take the risk knowing that every big leap has its pitfalls and setbacks. And we saw that in his journey. With each of the major arcana characters he encountered, he had to learn a lesson, but by doing that, he was able to grow and evolve. And at the end of the day, that is why we take journeys. That's why we start new things. That's why we put ourselves out there. So the Fool is our reminder, if he shows up in a reading, to do just that. So you may feel nervous when you're starting a new journey, but if the Fool shows up, it's saying, take the risk, you're ready, and you will be well supported, as we saw on his journey. If the Fool shows up in a career or finance reading, or your client or yourself has a question about money, he is symbolizing to, again, take that risk and try something new. Everything may not come easily, but taking bold action can get you to that next level. It's funny. So this is card 0, but I'm looking at it as an O right now for optimism. So he's being optimistic. So again, when it comes to career, take that bold action. Be optimistic, because that is what's going to get you to the next level. If the Fool shows up in a love or romance reading, that is a reminder to take a chance on love. Take that leap of faith. Be open to new beginnings within new or existing relationships. Trust your intuition and leave your past behind. In the other section of the workbook, I also noted that the Fool card stands for taking that leap of faith. Know that you're being supported by your guides at this time if the Fool shows up. The universe or God is with you. Don't be afraid of the unknown. Notice again, he is not afraid. Arms wide open, about to walk off the cliff. He is ready to go. And we know from his journey that he will not fall. And if he falls, a character from the Major Arcana will help him get back up again. Also, it's important to note when the Fool shows up, it's telling us to acknowledge that the lessons on our path will allow us to grow and evolve. That's why we try new things. That's why we take new journeys, is so that we can grow and evolve. For the numerology section, the Fool is card 0. And if you look in the back of our workbook, you'll see what 0 stands for, but I'll note it here. 0 is all about new beginnings. It's an open container, a blank slate to reinvent yourself. The Fool can also be considered the beginning and the end of the Major Arcana. 0 can mean the beginning of something, but it can also be the completion of something. And as we heard in the story of his journey, he starts at the beginning with himself and going through each one of the characters, but then at the end, he's learned his lessons and he restarts a new journey. So let's move into the reverse meaning of the Fool. Now, if you're new to reading tarot, you may choose not to read reversals, and that is completely up to you. Some tarot readers choose only to look at the card, even if it shows up reversed, they just flip it around and read it as the upright meaning. You'll also want to listen to your intuition. So as the cards come out for you, you can decide what it's saying. You know, if you are feeling resistance toward the Fool and it showed up in the reversed position, then read that. If it does come out reversed and you choose to read the reversals, then the reverse meaning, the keywords are fear of change. Basically, a reverse card is telling us the resistance to the upright meaning. So in this case, fear of change is telling us that this Fool coming up reverse does not want to go on a new adventure. You know, it's wanting to be right where it is, whether that's good or bad. The Fool showing up reverse may also indicate that it's not the right time to take a risk or to jump into something new. The Fool showing up reverse could also mean that you're hesitating to step out of your comfort zone, or it could mean that you need to move forward later on once you have a solid plan. What I love about tarot and why I started first reading tarot was to get to know myself better on a subconscious psychological level. So what happens is the cards show up for you in a reading and they trigger thoughts or emotions that you might be harboring or holding back. And if you're open to really going there and writing it out, and you know, the Fool shows up reverse for me, what does that mean? Am I afraid to change? Or is it truly not the right time for me? Should I not be jumping into this new venture that I'm excited about? Or am I hesitating to step out of my comfort zone? So it could mean all of those things. It could also mean that you should hold off on moving forward until you have more of a solid plan. And the best thing is when you're working personally through the cards and you're journaling and really trying to tap into that shadow piece or that shadow work of the subconscious, you are going to start to know the meaning. You're going to know when it means you need to hold off till you have a solid plan, or when it's calling you out for being afraid to change. Starting with yourself is best because you know yourself best. And then as you gain that confidence of understanding the cards and what they're telling you, and the meanings jumping off the card for you, you'll be able to better read for other people. Okay, so if you're following along in our workbook, you'll notice there's still a section on connections to other cards. And I'm not going to fill in that portion right now because we don't have any knowledge of the other cards just yet. So once we go through more of the cards in the deck, we'll be able to come back and fill in how it connects to the Fool. And in the personal insights and reflection section, that's all about your personal feelings toward the card. So if you see a symbol here that means something to you that I didn't note, or maybe the color yellow has a tie to a past loved one or something else that you want to add about this card, that is the section you would do that in. And please feel free to share any of those insights or reflections in the comment section on this video, so that we can learn from each other. Maybe you're going to pick up something in the card that I haven't listed, and it will help someone else who's learning all about the Fool. One thing I noted in my personal insight section is all about how the Fool relates to us on a psychological level. And Carl Jung actually talks about how the Fool card is asking us to address the totality of our own capacities. So what are we capable of? And who are we? Where are we going? Where did we come from? Maybe an exercise here too is if you are the Fool, if you are this dreamer, if you are taking a leap of faith, who are your support systems? Who is the sun? Who is the dog? Are they your guides? Are they people in your life? So before we go, I pulled a couple of my other decks, and they're actually from the same creator, Radley Valentine. He makes Angel Oracle and Tarot decks. I have two of his tarot decks. One is the Angel Tarot cards, and then the other is Guardian Angel Messages Tarot. And in both of his decks, he has called the Fool the Dreamer, which I love. It's a little less harsh, I guess. Instead of saying that he is foolish or doesn't know any better, he's calling them the dreamer. So we'll start with the Angel Messages Tarot. And a lot of similarities here come through. We'll start with the sun, you'll see. So the sun is at the back of this little girl. She's fully protected by the sun and this guardian angel. I love how the fool or the dreamer is represented by the innocence of this child. It is interesting, though, how she's running toward the cliff, because that makes it very uncomfortable. But again, she is being protected divinely by this angel here. She's not going to get hurt. She's following this butterfly, which in tarot, you know, the butterfly is meaning transformation. She's accompanied by a puppy. And then she also has a small bag here that she is completely leaving behind. She's not even holding it. So the meanings here, we have beginning, believing, and protected. And that is the Dreamer card 0. So similar to that card, we have another Dreamer. And it says, a leap of faith, follow your dreams and unexpected opportunities. So this Dreamer, I don't see a sun, but I do see that he's protected by Archangel Metatron here. The butterfly is present again, and the dog. It's really neat. It almost looks like he's going through a portal of his new beginning. I don't see the cliff anywhere, but he's definitely stepping into the unknown. And it looks like ahead of him, there's a unicorn and some birds. It's almost like there's a city under the water or in this bubble. So the bubble reminds me of how protected he may be, but it's also, because it's hard to see, it's almost like this illusion, or it's making it hard for him to see ahead, what's ahead on his path. And that's similar to the original Fool, where he's just walking right off the cliff. He doesn't know what's ahead of him, but he has faith. He's trusting that whatever it is, he can handle it. And I noticed the Dreamer here is also all dressed up and ready to go. Okay, so these are the Fool cards that I have to show you today. If you have your own tarot deck, you can take some time to compare to the Rider-Waite-Smith deck and see how the symbols show up for you. Our next video will be all about card 1, and that is the Magician. So that's all we have for today. Thanks for joining me, and I hope to see you in the next one.